Anyways, patch 13.14 will be different this time. We'll switch it up, and instead of, since there's no Jinx changes, we'll talk about every champion changes relative to if they had to 1v1 Jinx, how successful they would be or not. Real quick notes though, Gale Force is getting changed. The cooldown is going from 90 seconds to 120 seconds. And Infinity Edge, they're saying, is getting buffed, by the way, so champions like Caitlyn and Jinx can have a different mythic option, because I thought this was already the mythic option. I guess it wasn't. I hate the fact that I said Caitlyn in a Jinx video. But the attack damage on Infinity Edge, by the way, is going from 70 to 65, but the critical strike damage is going from 35 to 45. Now again, to be different, because reuse content, blah blah, the new champion, Nefiri, yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it, is coming out this patch. They have so many things about them that are coming out this patch that they deserve their own video, so we're just going to kind of skip them for now. Aatrox, and yes, we say Aatrox because there's a Key and Pill skit that came out back in 2011, in which case the substitute teacher skit, you can look it up, it's on YouTube. He pronounced Aaron's name Aaron. That was kind of the point of the whole skit, is all the names were mispronounced. Riot has been doing that with Aatrox since then. Freak's done it on air during Worlds, during the LCS. They've done it in the patch notes. They even do it right here, AA. So Aatrox. I just bring it up because I made a Victorious Aatrox video when that skin came out a couple years ago, and people were swearing that their ears were bleeding and they couldn't stand it by the second time I said Aatrox. I'm like, sorry, you're just weak. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to be mean. I don't care. You're just weak. Unfortunately, of course, that video blew up and got 50,000 views, so the comment section was a bit of a war zone because of that one thing. Mind you, the rest of the video fine. That one thing they just couldn't stand because, you know, League YouTube and League comment sections. Good thing you guys are better than that. But anyways, the Q damage is being increased, and the minion damage modifier is being increased. Here's the thing about if Jinx and Aatrox were 1v1ing in a lane. Let's say top lane. I do have like a Bruiser Jinx build I used to be able to do before they remove certain items and change runes and masteries to be more cliche and generic, instead of being able to opt into like one setting and stuff and one, a stat, and it was really fun. And in those days, I could do this cool build where I had like a Bloodthirster Rush for the lifesteal, a 41% attack speed rune page, attack speed boots, Spirit Visage, because the passive, the healing, would buff like other healing stuff, Frozen Mallet, so if I couldn't, kill somebody because they were going to kill me, I could run from them at least by slowing them, like every auto attack. It was disgusting because the other items were also like bruiser items. It was like it substituted Jinx's AoE team fighting ability for being able to actually 1v1 survivability and possibly split push, because in this particular idea, if I'm playing top lane range to kind of bruiser-esque Jinx, we also have an AD carry that's doing a bunch of crit damage anyway, so I don't need to be that damage threat. It was a fun build back when that era existed, so against something like this, then it'd be a bit more fun. But nowadays, because it doesn't exist, there's two things to know. One, that Q damage increased is disgusting if Aatrox gets on top of you, but mainly the bigger thing is the minion damage modifier is being increased. And if you know anything about like 1v1 lanes, you also want to sometimes be able to control the minion wave perfectly for when you back, like pushing the minion wave into the enemy and then backing and getting back and catching the wave. If the minion damage modifier is being increased, he might be able to push that wave back a bit more easily than before. Like his wave clear, it even says wave clear powered up. So honestly, combine that with the fact that things like Frozen Mallet don't exist anymore, nor did the old rune system where I could do something like have 41% extra attack speed at level 1 before I even got the boots. Yeah, Aatrox wins this one. Sorry. Diana, W shield strength increased, damage per orb increased, E magic damage increased. So the magic damage, again, AD carries do not scale magic resist, so magic damage is always going to hurt in a situation where you're going against Diana. The W shield being increased also doesn't help, because I believe they've changed it so much it might even be changed back, or maybe this didn't get changed but I thought it did. The shield destroying abilities of Mortal Reminder and like Grievous Wound items, I don't think that's a thing anymore. Especially not on the $800 like sword, maybe the full completed item. So trying to rush that sword to deal with this in a laning phase situation wouldn't be that helpful. You might as well build toward your mythic, which apparently they want you to move to Infinity Edge if you haven't already. So Diana actually has a lot of advantage here, outside of the fact that she is melee, so Fishbones might be able to range her a little bit in a laning phase situation. But otherwise, Diana quite literally might sweep Hecarim. Let's just be real, instead of turning him into glue, he turns you into like a chaotic, pasty, multicolored glue. I don't even really need to go into that much. The bonus in my armor and magic resistance being decreased on the W, kind of nice. It's still Hecarim. Jax. Jax is the reason I invented that bruiser ranged Jinx build. I went against a challenger Jax once. I shouldn't have. My elo was not high enough to fight a challenger Jax, but here I was fighting a challenger Jax, and I'm going to spoil something for you. Got my face beat in. partly because I was playing Jinx. If I was playing an actual top laner at the time, it still would have been a losing situation, but not to the extent that this one was. Even with Ignite. Ignite actually, okay, so I will admit, because I take Ignite, at level 1, there was a situation where I almost killed them. But I didn't, and they got away, and then the lane just went south since. And by the way, the E cooldown is being increased, and the R mana cost is being increased, but that's like Jax's thing. He's like, I know Fiora's like the duelist, but Jax like the duelist, you know? And Jinx is not them. So when it comes to this particular matchup, you're just gonna kind of struggle a bit, and it's gonna be a little bit difficult. Because the E, remember, is Counter-Strike, which is, unlike the game, very, very, very straightforward of what it exactly does. If you try to attack while it's up, it's not a good look. Karthus, meanwhile, who even more related to Jinx, this is actually like Karthus bot lane specific stuff. The Q-based damage is being decreased, the damage of monsters being increased, and the E mana restoration is being decreased. And the funny thing about this, why this is even more important because it's a bot lane situation, is much like Jinx, Karthus does not like hard engage stuff. So hard engage supports like Leona, Braum, Thresh, etc. are actually your friend for dealing with Karthus. Not saying that this makes him just weak automatically, but I'm just saying with the fact that they're aiming these changes toward bottom lane and making him weaker in the bottom lane but still good in jungle. It's funny though, if you do play with one of those kind of supports, most likely you can probably blow him up. Especially after these changes, you probably will be able to get out of his range afterwards too. If you want to step up and attack with the minigun instead of the rocket launcher, obviously if the flame chopper's in, if you know your support locks them down and things like that. But obviously because he can stay alive after he dies, wanting to get away is a priority that you're going to have. And with those kind of champions especially, it might make this a little bit easier. Or if you're taking damage, you're just going to be taking less trade damage, which could be nice. Because when they talk about Karthus bot, they're talking about him as like the AD carry position, not as like a mage support and like you're also fighting a Draven. Because in those situations, you just leave. Kindred. Now these are jungle changes. So if we're talking about jungle Jinx, which is kind of interesting, when I play jungle Jinx, I do it on hit build. I used to do like Blood Razor, for example, when that was like really powerful, but I usually tend to drift towards those kind of things because again, we have an AD carry, so I don't need to be the AD carry with crits and stuff, and that just takes too much time to scale in a jungle environment. But if you do start blue side, by the way, Fishbones has enough mana that you should be able to clear Krugs, chickens, and wolves before the buff runs out, which can be very useful because Fishbones having the AoE helps you clear those more multi-camps a bit easier. But let's talk about the Kindred matchup a bit more because they're going to have the Mark. They're probably going to go for Scuttle. So one of the things I would recommend is, because you probably won't be able to fight Kindred straight up, take those Scuttles as early as possible from Kindred because you will have Smite. And because of the jungle changes, you have a little extra pet and all that stuff too. So it's something to utilize. And basically the way you're fighting Kindred in this 1v1 matchup isn't directly. You're just out jungling Kindred until you get to 6. And then you can gank with your ultimate. You don't even have to be actually worry about ganking and trying to like flank with the flame choppers. You just be like, oh, hey, they're even half dead. I'm going to fire my ult because I'm not even necessarily trying to get the kill. I'm just trying to get them low enough that my lane partner, whoever that is, can get the kill. Oh, hey, you're at half health. Flame, Super Mega Death Rocket just took you down to 1/4 of your health, and now my Darius can just straight up ult you like right away and kill you, and they get the kill, and I'm gifting the kills to the laners. Not my job. Sorry, Kindred, you tried. Lissandra, meanwhile, sweeps. It's Lissandra. Not only is she a mage, magic damage, but a lot of lockup potential with the ult and stuff, and yeah, ice zombie Jinx for everybody, right in time for summer. Melio, if you're for some reason fighting this champion, you might be a whole entire bully or a villain. Jinx does sweep though, by the way. Even though the passive burn damage is being decreased and the E bonus move speed is also being decreased, so they're already getting a little bit hit, and you're just being extra mean on top of that. A little bit chaotic, you know? Rek'Sai, meanwhile, sweeps you. Quite literally with the Q, I believe, when they're unburrowed and they're doing the 3 different attacks when you use the Q for clearing stuff. They actually have a sweeping move with their tail. That is real. Jinx does not have a tail. She cannot sweep. I mean, she can with her hair, I guess, you know, if you want to go that route. Sweep for sweep. But Rek'Sai is more like the quicker picker-upper in that situation. And you're like Mr. Cleant. Not quite clean. Just not happening. Sorry. Rel will send you to hell. Yeah, that's it. Rel sweeps. All right, let's see. Ringo Fett, like the OG, send you back to Fountain. I don't even need to talk about this one. Sweeps. Shaco, meanwhile, is interesting because a trickster versus a trickster, both with murdering intent, technically in this regard. Chaos, Shaco literally rearranges to chaos. It's an anagram, if you remember your verbiage and English classes and stuff like that. Let's see. In this particular case, though, because it is affecting AD scaling, it looks like backstab damage is being increased. It's 80 versus 80, because I would say if it's AP Shaco getting buffs, this would be Shaco sweep. Without it, Shaco is an assassin, so technically assassins still sweep 80 carries to at least early game. But at the same time, like, you know, 80 to 80, if you're getting more fed than Shaco is, though, that could feel nice, just not getting backstabbed by an AP dagger for once. Shyvana, a literal dragon. Sweep. That's it. Shyvana wins. Volibear from the Dark Throne in Final Fantasy XIV, and much like that raid in Final Fantasy XIV where you need multiple people to fight him, Volibear sweeps unless you bring friends. Then, like said raid, you sweep. Let's go Jinx and friends. Xerath, like the OG mage that is really annoying to fight because of how much range he has. He's an artillery mage. And even with Ziggs, if you were Ziggs or Lux fighting Xerath, it can be annoying because you're just both really long range, and Xerath has like 5 dunks he can put on you. Darius would be so proud. With that being said, you know the funny thing about Xerath is, as much as he is annoying with his combo and his range, you can punish him at a closer range. It's dumb when you see 80 carries fighting a melee range, but there's a method to the madness. If you're fighting someone with skill shots and you are good enough, I'm not, you can sidestep those skill shots really close, and then they're on cooldown, and that person's skill shots, like, you know, they're just kind of look a little miserable, actually, because like, man, why I kind of missed with these things point blank, and now I have to wait on cooldown while you've been auto attacking me the whole time because we're close enough for you to auto attack me. So it doesn't always work. It's fun. I did it to a brand once, and the brand died in the 1v1 in the mid lane, and I was like, cool, that's why people do it. But I wouldn't recommend it as a viable strategy. But if you can do it to Xerath, you're like a skilled enough player listening to this, yeah, Jinx sweeps in that regard. Otherwise, Xerath doesn't quite sweep, but is extremely painful. Zyra, one of the OG and like intermediate bots that are really annoying. Look, if you've never played bots, go play intermediate bots. Get a Zyra, even a Zillion on the enemy team. You will probably not lose the game, but you probably will understand why people consider certain intermediate bots terrifying, and Zyra is one of them. Zyra sweeps. And that is it. Yeah, that's going to be all for this video. Honorable mention to the skins way down here. The soul fighting skins for Set, Samira, Lux, Naafiri, Pyke, and Senna. Yeah, double Pyke. And they actually do look really good for that matter. There's also the skins coming to Wild Rift as well. We're just going to worry about these ones, though. They look fantastic, to be honest. I really like the colors on them myself, even though none of them are for Jinx. But with that being said, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell notification, the actual subscribe button. But I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until it's time, take care. ggGetJinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly. Bye-bye.